Welcome everyone to CW Live. I'm Natasha Nicholson, Executive Editor of IABC's magazine, Communication World. And today I'll be talking with Jeff Herrington, Editor, Independent Writer, and Consultant of Jeff Herrington Communications. Jeff will lead an upcoming IABC online workshop on business writing in the 21st century, and that'll be from July 7th through August 11th. And the workshop will offer some tips and techniques on how to captivate the attention of a mobile business person. Welcome, Jeff.
Thanks for having me, Natasha. Good to be here.
Good to have you. And so let's start with this. What impact would you say social media has had on business writing?
Well, it's had an enormous impact. Certainly when we look at some of the social media sites like Twitter, for example, there's an imposed length for your message. And as a result, people are increasingly used to getting messages that are more truncated, more precise, more concise than ever before. And that, as that becomes more and more the norm, it becomes more and more the norm really in every place that we read things, whether it even be a newsletter, a print newsletter, email, what have you. And so I think it's been pretty close to revolutionary, to be honest.
Do you think we as readers have changed in the last decade? And so what are some expectations about how writing is different and what we as readers expect?
Well, you know, even when I started doing writing workshops 20 years ago, we talked about the need to be quick and to the point and all of that. But that really has gone into hyperdrive in the last 5 to 8 years because of social media and internet writing in general. I think that when you add to the fact that you have this explosion of options for entertainment, if you will, cable TV, YouTube channels, that people's attention spans are just minuscule compared to even 5 to 8 years ago. And so it becomes even that much more important that if we have a specific message we're trying to get across to someone, that we do so really within the first couple of sentences, and then follow up and with detail and background as need be, and let the person be able to choose which details they want to grab.
Should writers adapt their writing to accommodate mobile devices, web consumption, and so on? If so, how should they do that?
Well, I think that absolutely, that there is going to be an increasing need to adapt. And what that means, of course, is that probably information is going to be presented a little bit more menu style. Now, the challenge with talking about mobile is we don't know where mobile will be in 5 to 8 years. And so I'm talking about mobile in 2015, and by mobile in 2017, the rules may be very different because the devices we're working off of may be very different. But at least for now, that we're going to have to present things far more in a menu format, far more in a bullet point format, to accommodate both the fact that we read more vertically than we used to, and the fact that people are so much more, it's so much easier for people to skim and scan because it's a flick of a finger now rather than even dragging a mouse the way it was 5 to 8 years ago.
Let's talk about the top 3 reading mistakes that you find that people make with writing. What do you see that people just do over and over again that you want them to, behaviors that want them to correct or they should correct?
Sure. Well, a couple of simple things, first of all, which we'll talk about. And it sounds like this would be an incredibly easy given. And when I present it in my workshops, everybody goes, yes, absolutely, I agree. And then we can pull up 1,000 examples online right now where it's not done correctly. And that's just keeping our sentences short. And when I say short, I'm talking 25 words or less. You go to just about any business organizational website these days, I can find sentences that are 60, 70, 80 words long. And it doesn't matter if it's on a regular, if you're looking at that on a laptop or on your phone, it's still outrageously long for the web reader. So that would be number one. Number 2 would be the density of paragraphs, something else that I think is incredibly important and a very easy thing to fix. Generally, I talk about keep your paragraphs to no more than 2 or 3 short sentences. And yet I'll see paragraphs online that are 5, 6, 7 sentences long. We were taught keep a paragraph to one idea. The problem is that's an old rule, and we can change that. So those would probably be my top 2. One more I think would be not using bulleted lists when we can. We have a tendency to string a series of things in a sentence. It makes the sentence long, and we're missing the opportunity to bring it into a more vertical format like people who certainly are on phones want to see.
What are some of the first steps you think a communicator can take to improve their business writing?
Well, I think two things. First of all, that would be to read the really good business writing out there. And I'm a huge fan. I'm not saying that publications like The Economist or the Wall Street Journal are the only places where there is good business writing, or that they always do good business writing. But the bottom line is they are, for a lot of people out there, the go-to every single day for where they get information about business. So I would certainly kind of read those and see how those organizations approach topics. That would be my number one suggestion. And then number two, I would also really encourage people to think about the websites that they go to regularly, regardless of what the subject matter may be, even if it's an entertainment-oriented website. If it's something that's drawing you day after day after day, a blog of some sort, what have you, go back and rather than read it as an entertainment reader, read it as a writer, and find out what is this blogger, or what is this Facebook friend of mine who always has great posts, and I'm always reading their stuff over other people's. Why? Why is that? Analyze it a little bit and then incorporate that into your writing.
Well, Jeff, I want to thank you so much for joining us on this episode of CW Live.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it, and I hope to meet a lot of the great communicators throughout North America and Europe and Asia in our business writing workshop this summer.
Absolutely. And just so our viewers know, you can learn more about Jeff's business writing workshop on www.ibc.com. And thanks so much for watching.